Oh man, it's the week of very big conversations, isn't it? And this next one's going to be big. It's going to be interesting and difficult, and I know it's going to stir up a lot of different emotions. Roe v. Wade was overturned today, and what that actually means is the Supreme Court justices have ruled that it's not a constitutional right to have an abortion. So it's going to go back to each of the individual states and their own democratic process as to if they're going to allow abortions and what that looks like. Now, I'm not a stranger to abortion. I haven't had one personally myself, but I've had many friends get abortions, all for different reasons. I've had friends that have been 12 years old and had unprotected, I'm not sure if I should even say the word sex or not in this, but I just said it, so I guess it had that and got pregnant. They haven't had an abortion. They've gone to have their baby, and now they've got multiple children, and they're amazing mothers. I've had other friends. My own sister had a baby when she was only 17, and she's now an amazing mum of 5 children. I've got other friends that have decided to go and get abortions and had really traumatic times, and things have gone horribly wrong. One of them was she was pregnant with her husband. One of her friends that had had an abortion before her convinced her to go and get one, saying, oh, it might not be the right time for you right now. She went to go get an abortion, and obviously her baby's life got lost, but it also nearly took her life from horrible complications that went wrong. I've also had friends that are babies that now exist. They're human beings, amazing people that exist because their mum was raped and she chose to keep the baby. But it has been a difficult road for the mother and for her, and for not having the father in the picture. It's been really hard. So there's so many different avenues that you can look at when it comes to this whole discussion, and it's a really difficult discussion to have. But the way that I see it now, I was very much pro-choice when I was younger, from when I was around 17. But the older I get and the more I saw the trauma that my friends went through when they had their abortions, and the more I saw them just mentally really struggle years and years and years later, the more that I started to kind of change my mind. And now when I think about it, for me, there's a whole argument of, well, it's my body, my choice, right? But then there's the counter argument to that where it's like, okay, at what point is it the baby's body versus your body? And so a lot of the states are now starting to look at what's called the heartbeat law, where once it's got its own heartbeat, it's now its own body, it's not your body. And so that's the argument that's coming into play. Now, the Roe versus Wade, Jane Roe, her real name's actually Norma McCorvey, she was pretty much used by the lawyers to push forward the case for abortion. She wanted an illegal abortion, and then they used her to go and further the case to open it up to the entire states. After that all happened, she actually didn't end up getting an abortion. She adopted her baby out, and she went to work for abortion clinics afterwards. So she worked in abortion clinics for years up until 1995. Then she actually became pro-choice until she died in 2017 and campaigned against the very thing that her case allowed for all around the states, and that she worked doing. So it's a really interesting story for what she's got to say there. And the other side of this is you've got the people that really advocated for abortion early on and where that came from. And that was a lady called Margaret Sanger with Planned Parenthood, and she was a deep eugenicist and racist. Massive racist. She wanted to eliminate the black population in general from America and have pure bloodlines. This is just one thing that she said, and it was truly disgusting. She wanted to enlist the help of spiritual leaders around America, writing, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate," these are her words, "the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members." So it was quite dark. It's really dark how it started and how it still continues to go with selling of baby body parts for different scientific uses. And for me, it comes down to informed consent. Women don't often know what's actually going to happen to their bodies. And I had this chat with a friend of mine. I actually looked after her son when she went and got her abortion because she didn't have anyone else to look after him. So I was looking after her and making sure she was okay, looking after her son. And I said to her, I was like, you do know that with medical abortions or surgical abortions, which is largely the majority of what people do, so within 9 weeks, I think it is, that's when you can take the pill, and often that's around the heartbeat age, is up to about 12 weeks. Before and after that, you get what's called a vacuum. So the vacuum goes inside and it actually vacuums the baby in little pieces out of you. Or you can get the surgical one where it cuts it up and then they pull it out with forceps. And I was talking to her about that procedure, and she was like, "No, it's not. You're lying. That's not true. That's not how it's done." And you can look it up on the Abortion NZ and see the descriptions of what it actually means and look into the scientific procedure of it. But I think it's the informed consent side of things. Women carry so much trauma with them because they're not fully informed about it. And for me personally, I think that the heartbeat law is a good law because it means if someone is raped, they've still got the ability to not have that baby. But at the same time, I think we need to have much, much stricter regulations when it comes to things like rape. I think rapists should get, if you can definitely tell that you've got proof that you've been raped, then I think we should look at castration, chemical castration for the men. I think we need really strict laws. I don't understand how a man can rape a child and get 5-6 years in prison. That should not be happening. And I wish that people campaigned as hard for criminal justice and for the criminal justice system when it comes to rape of women and children as they do for the right to have like a late-term abortion. Because I think that that's where we need to be focusing on, is actually the people that are doing these crimes. But I also understand how awful it is when things happen to people that they don't want them to happen to. Not one of my friends, out of the many that have had abortions, not one of them did it because they were assaulted. Every single one of them did it as more of a birth control decision. So my view on it now is I think that the heartbeat law is a good one where you can take the pill up until the heartbeat. And then before that, maybe the reduction of abortions would actually mean that people would be more careful with the protection that they use, and men would be a lot more educated as to the importance of using protection and not pressuring women to try and have unprotected sex as well. But it's a big conversation, and there's so many avenues and so many personal stories people have been through. So we're going to get a panel on to the podcast to have that discussion, because I think every side needs to be looked at and talked about, and nothing is perfectly straight and narrow. It's a difficult one, and I do think it's a really good thing it's gone to each individual state. I think it's a democratic process that they're following, which is the right thing to do. And yeah, we'll see what happens from here, and we'll see the rates of mental health and everything like that. So I think it'll be really interesting. It's been a long time since a big decision like this has been made in the States, so other countries will get to see what that looks like and how that plays out for their country. All right, see you guys. Bye.